Welcome to The Other Goal, stories beyond the scoreboard, where sports meets soul.
Right then, the squad's out, the digital ink is barely dry, and already the hot takes are flying thicker than Queensland mozzie swarm.
Yeah.
But you're here for something beyond the predictable name-dropping, aren't you?
Hopefully.
This is the deep dive, and in the last 24 hours, we've been sifting through the noise, the pundit pontifications, the tactical dissections, even, the whispers hinting at what might unfold down under.
Precisely. The initial buzz is all about who made the cut, the familiar water cooler chat. But for us, the real meat is in unpacking the why.
Exactly.
What are the subtle signals in these selections? What do they tell us about the coach's thinking beyond just the obvious talent?
Right.
Our job today is, well, to excavate those less visible layers, those surprising choices and strategic hints that offer a richer understanding of this Lions squad.
Okay, let's dive straight into the deep end then. The youth movement. The consensus seems to be that this could be one of the youngest Lions squads in, recent memory, injecting a real shot of fresh legs and perspectives. And at the forefront of that youthful charge is Henry Pollock. 20 years old, just a single England cap, yet the rugby intelligentsia seems to be in collective agreement about his potential inclusion.
And it's not just blind hype, is it? That stunning solo try against Leinster wasn't just a bit of individual brilliance. It showcased a blend of pace, power, and rugby intelligence that clearly resonated.
Totally.
Consider Ugo Money's reaction, a former Lion himself saying unequivocally that Pollock has to get on the plane. He even suggested a clean sweep for Northampton's young cohort.
Wow.
That level of endorsement from someone who knows what it takes is, it's significant.
Yep, absolutely. And the names being invoked in comparison are genuinely eye-opening. Richie McCaw, Stephen Ferris. That's not just praise, it's a serious statement about his fundamental abilities.
It really is.
Will Greenwood went even further, suggesting it would be a shock if Pollock doesn't go, positioning him as that potential tour revelation despite his limited senior experience.
Yeah.
It almost feels like not picking him would be the riskier move now.
Which is fascinating, especially when you contrast it with another highly touted youngster, Sam Prendergast.
Ah, yes. The contrast is stark.
Just recently, he was being discussed as the next big thing in Irish fly half play. But that difficult outing against Northampton, where his defensive frailties were, quite exposed, it appears to have significantly dampened that enthusiasm. Money's assessment was particularly critical, suggesting that performance cost him a place.
Which really brings to the fore that perennial Lions question.
Yeah.
What's the primary objective? Is it about nurturing future talent on a high-pressure stage?
Or is it solely about assembling the most battle-ready squad to secure a Test Series victory right now?
Exactly. The prevailing viewpoint seems to lean towards the latter. As one insightful piece noted, using a Lions tour purely for development sours the name of the Lion.
A pretty firm stance.
Yeah. So the narrative seems to be Prendergast, likely a Lion down the line, but perhaps this tour comes a little too soon.
Precisely. Farrell seems to be prioritizing immediate impact, even if that impact comes from a relatively unproven talent like Pollock.
Right.
Now, let's pivot to a completely different selection curveball. The potential return of Manu Tuilagi.
Oh, Manu. 33 years old, not currently part of England's plans.
Yet Will Greenwood has floated his name as a genuine shocker contender.
A shocker is right. It feels like Tuilagi's Lions chapter might have been closed,
You'd think so. But the reasoning is compelling. Apparently he's in prime physical condition, performing strongly for Bayonne in France.
You're right, I heard that.
And still possesses that rare ability to unlock defenses with his raw power and unique skill set.
That X factor.
The prospect of him as a midfield battering ram or game-changing presence, it's certainly an intriguing proposition.
Definitely. And given Farrell's track record for occasionally veering off the expected path.
He can throw a curveball.
Yeah, it's not entirely out of left field. He was a Lion in 2013, so he understands the demands.
It highlights that element of unpredictability in Farrell's selections. Just when you think you've deciphered his approach, a suggestion like Tuilagi surfaces.
True.
And it's not just the established names, whether young or experienced. Greenwood also threw Darcy Graham, the dynamic Scottish winger, into the mix.
Oh, interesting.
A diminutive Scottish winger who can fly. The enthusiasm in his voice was palpable, apparently.
Oh, bet.
Someone who might not be a constant headline maker, but is undeniably a fabulous rugby player. A pick like that would certainly signal an intent to attack with pace and width.
Absolutely. And conversely, we're anticipating some notable omissions, particularly at fly half.
Yeah.
That position is stacked.
Oh, massively. As Greenwood astutely pointed out, you can't fit 5 into 3.
No kidding.
With Finn Russell and Finn Smith seemingly strong contenders, that leaves Marcus Smith, George Ford, and the aforementioned Prendergast in a rather precarious position.
Yeah, but the fact that Marcus Smith, who was England poster boy in the pivot role just, a year ago?
Feels like ages ago now.
Could potentially miss out. Truly underscores the cutthroat and ever-shifting landscape of international rugby selection.
Every move feels right until it isn't, as one particularly sharp Scottish commentator observed.
That sums it up. It's a real high-stakes selection puzzle.
Shifting our focus from individual names, let's consider the overarching selection philosophy that seems to be guiding Farrell. What are you picking up?
Well, the consistent message from various sources emphasizes that it's not solely about on-field talent. Character, team cohesion, and mental fortitude appear to be equally, if not more, important.
Right, that teamship.
Yeah, the repeated emphasis on personality and attitude and teamship suggests that in those marginal selection decisions, Farrell will likely lean towards the player who best embodies those qualities.
And that brings us neatly to the captaincy, which, following Caelan Doris's unfortunate injury,
Such a shame.
appears to be firmly pointing towards Maro Itoje.
Seems a consensus pick now. He's not just a world-class second row. He's been identified as a leader virtually since he first burst onto the international scene.
Been earmarked for years, hasn't he?
Pretty much. And the fact that he's poised to potentially be the first English captain in 24 years adds another layer of intrigue to the narrative.
It fits that emphasis on strong character and leadership credentials perfectly.
Totally.
Indeed. Itoje brings a certain intensity and unwavering professionalism that seems to resonate with Farrell's vision for this tour. Now, we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
The selection subplot that's generating considerable discussion. The potential inclusion of Owen Farrell.
Picking his own son. Yeah, it's a narrative ripe for scrutiny, regardless of how impartial Andy Farrell insists he will be.
It's an incredibly delicate situation to navigate, isn't it?
Absolutely. On one hand, the potential for accusations of nepotism is unavoidable. On the other, you have a player with a wealth of experience, a proven test match animal, as Laura Stilali memorably put it,
Great quote.
whose match-winning kicks in 2017 are still vivid in many memories.
Clutch moments.
And despite his recent injury layoff, he's leading Racing 92 through an undefeated run. Yeah, his form's been good. Even Johnny Sexton, now on the coaching staff, has spoken very highly of Owen's contributions.
Interesting endorsement there.
The prevailing expectation seems to be that Owen Farrell will indeed be selected, but the crucial question revolves around his role.
Right. Starter. Bench. Versatility player.
Exactly. Is he slated as a starting test player, or will he be viewed as a valuable option off the bench, covering both fly half and inside center?
It's a big call.
For Andy Farrell, this decision will be a significant test of his stated commitment to selecting solely on merit, balancing that familial connection with the squad's needs.
And it's hard to ignore the significant Irish representation within the coaching setup. That naturally leads to speculation about a potentially heavy Irish flavor in the playing squad.
It's logical, isn't it? Why wouldn't Farrell leverage the well-established combinations and finely tuned understanding within a successful Leinster core?
Makes sense. It wouldn't be surprising to see a significant number of green jerseys come test match day.
True. While that's a logical assumption, Farrell will also be acutely aware of the need to avoid any perception of bias.
It has to be.
Selections like the potential inclusion of Henry Pollock, who, as one astute observer noted, utterly rattled Leinster's cage recently, demonstrate a willingness to look beyond his immediate Irish connections, and the potential selection of French-based players like Tuilagi or perhaps Jack Willis,
Based purely on form.
yeah, would further reinforce that meritocratic approach. It's a subtle but important balancing act.
Let's delve into some of those less prominent narratives, the unexpected angles that often get lost in the initial squad announcement frenzy.
Okay.
One that caught my eye is the potential homecoming aspect for several Australian-born players who now represent other nations.
Oh, yeah, the Aussie expats.
Exactly.
Oh.
We could see the likes of Scotland's Sione Tuipulotu and Jack Dempsey, and Ireland's Mac Hansen and Finlay Bealham, touring their country of birth in the iconic Lions Red.
It injects a really compelling personal element into the tour, doesn't it? Imagine the unique emotions for these players running out in Lions colors on familiar grounds.
Must be incredible.
The Australian media has already picked up on this, and Mac Hansen's reported Judas jibe from old friends back home adds a touch of spice to that particular storyline.
Brilliant. It's precisely this type of under-the-radar narrative that often adds real depth to a Lions tour.
Definitely. Contrast that with the potentially challenging situation for Wales.
Oh yeah, a different story there. Historically a bedrock of Lions representation, this year the expectation is for a considerably smaller Welsh contingent due to their recent struggles.
It's quite a drop-off, potentially.
Jack Morgan appears to be a near-certain selection, but beyond him, the picture looks less clear. We're potentially looking at only, 2 or 3 Welsh players in total?
Could be that sparse, a stark contrast to their significant presence in previous tours, most notably 2013 when they dominated.
It definitely feels like a significant shift, and perhaps marks a turning point in Welsh rugby's contribution to the Lions.
There's even been some wry discussion, tinged with cynicism, about whether Farrell might feel any pressure to include a token Welsh player for balance.
Hope not.
But the overwhelming sentiment seems to be that selections must be driven purely by performance. There's somewhat dark humor among Welsh supporters,
I saw some of that.
with one quipping that a pundit predicting 2 Welsh players must have been on the crack pipe really highlights the current reality.
Ouch. Tells you everything. On a more historical note, we could witness a couple of players entering a very exclusive club.
The 4th Tour Club.
Exactly. Talupa Faletau and Owen Farrell are both potentially on the verge of this rare achievement.
Incredible longevity.
Think about the sustained excellence required essentially a 12-year Lions career. Faletau's current recovery from injury does add a layer of uncertainty.
True, depends on his fitness.
But if both make it, it truly underscores their enduring quality and connection to Lions history.
Absolutely. These would be genuine legacy selections, forging a tangible link between the current squad and the storied tradition of the Lions.
Definitely. Now, for a slightly different angle, the emergence of Henry Pollock and his rather exuberant try celebrations.
Yes.
His now quoted response, "If you don't like it, don't watch," speaks volumes about a potential generational shift in how players express themselves.
Bringing that entertainment and swagger.
Yeah, it's certainly a departure from the more traditionally understated image often associated with rugby.
Pollock's argument that the sport needs to do something new to attract a younger audience is a compelling one.
It is, and his personality could undoubtedly inject some much-needed vibrancy into the tour's narrative.
You can almost sense the traditionalists raising an eyebrow, though.
Oh, for sure. But it's undeniably a talking point that resonates with a different generation of fans.
And speaking of talking points, let's briefly touch on the rather elaborate spectacle of the squad announcement itself.
The O2 Arena show.
A 2-hour live show, complete with paying attendees. It's a far cry from the days of a quietly delivered press release.
Or a mailed letter, like in '97.
Exactly. There's a certain irony in this grand meeting that could have been an email, as one particularly cutting columnist observed.
Yeah, highlights the rampant commercialization, as they put it.
It does feel a tad extravagant, doesn't it?
A bit. Yeah. But you can't deny that it underscores the enduring passion and intense debate that the Lions continue to ignite.
True. Ultimately, as long as the selection decisions themselves are sound, perhaps a bit of theatricality in the announcement is just a sign of the times.
Fair point. Now let's shift focus to the tactical insights.
Yeah.
What can we glean from the likely squad composition?
Okay. One area that stands out is the anticipated emphasis on the battle at the breakdown.
The ruck battle. Crucial against Australia.
Multiple sources highlight the expectation of numerous jackal specialists being selected. Rugby Pass analysts went as far as to say this will be a Lions side built to compete on the floor.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Given the current strength of Northern Hemisphere teams in that area, and perhaps a perceived vulnerability in the Australian game.
Exactly, and the potential inclusion of someone like Pollock, who possesses impressive breakdown skills alongside his open field play, further reinforces this.
Right, so expect multiple turnover threats in the back row.
And even locks like Todd Burnett and Maro Itoje actively competing at the ruck. It suggests Farrell intends to aggressively contest possession and disrupt the Wallabies at source.
Historically, dominating the breakdown has been a key factor in Northern Hemisphere victories against Australia, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Moving to the set piece, with the likelihood of a slightly smaller squad, maybe around 38 players,
Versatility becomes key.
paramount. We'll likely see a premium placed on players who can effectively cover multiple positions. And given the consistent strength of the Irish set piece, particularly their front row,
Expect a strong Irish contingent there.
yeah, names like Dan Sheehan, Todd Furlong, Andrew Porter seem very likely.
Makes sense.
The potential inclusion of French-based English forwards, such as David Ribbons and Jack Willis, based on their strong club form, also hints at a desire for physicality and set-piece solidity.
Of course, the late arrival of players involved in the top 14 playoffs could present a logistical challenge.
Always a factor.
And when we consider the attacking approach, the coaching team itself offers some interesting clues. The blend of Sexton, Wigglesworth, and Mike Catt.
Suggests a potentially multifaceted game plan.
Possibly. Though it would be surprising if Farrell strayed too far from the high-tempo, multi-phase attacking style that has brought Ireland so much success recently.
Especially with Sexton's intimate knowledge of that system. As one analysis pointed out, cohesion in selection often translates to cohesion in playing style.
Good point. But there's also the tantalizing prospect of combining that well-drilled Irish and English forward platform with the inherent attacking flair of the Scottish backs.
Oh, just please. The near-certain selection of Finn Russell, widely seen as the favorite for the number 10 Test jersey, clearly indicates a desire to unlock defenses with creativity.
He's the key, isn't he? And Greenwood's strong endorsement of Darcy Graham further supports this attacking intent.
The midfield balance will be particularly intriguing to observe, though. Will Farrell prioritize power and direct running, or opt for more creative ball-playing options?
His preference for a distributor at inside center during his time with Ireland might offer some insight.
Could do. And the kicking strategy will be another fascinating element, particularly with Dan Djur potentially absent.
Russell brings a different, perhaps more varied, kicking game. The potential inclusion of George Ford, renowned for his tactical kicking,
And his established understanding with Owen Farrell.
could provide another crucial dimension in controlling territory. Feels like we're heading towards a blended approach.
Yeah, the efficiency and physicality we expect from Ireland and England, combined with those moments of individual brilliance that players from Scotland and elsewhere can provide.
Sounds promising. Finally, let's touch on the broader fan sentiment surrounding this squad announcement. What are you hearing?
Well, beyond the immediate reactions to individuals, there are some interesting undercurrents. The perennial debate about the soul of the Lions.
Yes, the players not currently representing their home nation.
That inevitably resurfaces. However, the overwhelming feeling among fans seems to be that performance and ability should be paramount.
Just pick the best players available.
Pretty much. Give us the strongest possible team, regardless of current international status.
And there's a palpable sense of excitement surrounding the potential inclusion of so much young talent, isn't there?
Definitely. The idea of this tour representing a changing of the guard with fresh faces like Pollock and potentially Finn Smith injecting new energy has really resonated.
There's also a widespread hope for a more expansive and entertaining style of rugby compared to the somewhat attritional series in South Africa in 2021.
Let's hope so. Of course, concerns about injuries and the need for strong standby options are ever present.
Always.
But overall, the reaction goes beyond simply listing the names. It delves into deeper strategic and philosophical questions about what constitutes a successful Lions tour.
Yeah, it's more than just the 38 names.
Indeed. If the selection process itself has already generated this level of intricate analysis and passionate debate, it certainly bodes well for a captivating tour down under.
Absolutely true.
As one particularly witty fan quipped, the squad selection arguments are merely the opening skirmishes in what will become an all-out war when the test team selections begin.
Huh. Can't wait for that. So as we conclude this deep dive, we've aimed to illuminate some of the less obvious narratives and the more nuanced expert analysis surrounding this Lions squad announcement.
Hopefully dug a bit deeper.
Yeah, it's not just about who's been picked, it's about the potential tactical battles, the compelling personal stories, and that constant tension between respecting tradition and embracing exciting new talent.
That balance.
What will that delicate balance ultimately look like when they face the Wallabies in those test matches? That, dear listener, is the question that will undoubtedly keep us all engaged in the months to come.
Keep watching this space.
Keep exploring those undercurrents, and we'll be here to dissect the next chapter.
You've been listening to The Other Goal, because the greatest victories don't always happen on the field.